Fall in, cover down, dress right dress all around. It's time for the Abington Veterans Muster. My name is Travis Partington, Marine Corps veteran, Abington resident, and your host. I've got to pass the word, so stand in formation and pay attention, please. As we like to start off with, we want to tell people and have them understand, if you are a veteran or a widow of a veteran, the Massachusetts Chapter 115 benefit is there for you. If you serve in the military with an honorable discharge, live in the state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, and or have the proper financial need requirement met, you can apply for this benefit. It's there for you. And set aside for each town so you can get the help you need as a veteran. You simply need to go down to the Abington Town Hall and see Adam Gunn or Lisa McGovern, or go to the website, check out the email address and the phone number and make an appointment that way. Don't delay. Don't delay. Don't drag this out. I know, I'm a veteran myself. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to seek help, but that help is there for you. So please, Chapter 115, Abington Town Hall, get the help you need. Thank you. Moving on, we've got some stuff coming up, all kinds of good stuff. First and foremost, by now, if you're a veteran in the town of Abington, or we think you're a veteran in the town of Abington, you should have gotten a survey postcard in the mail. Please do not throw that away. Please don't use it for a bookmark. Fill it out, put it in the mailbox, and send it back to the town hall. This is going to help us formulate programs and events and outreach for our veterans here in the town of Abington. You can't miss it. It's a red, white, and blue postcard with a town seal on it, and it says, from Adam Gunn. You can't miss it. Don't throw it away. Take the, and I timed this, it took me about 38 seconds to fill it out. And that was going slow, and my penmanship's not the best. So if I can do it in under a minute, you can too. Get that postcard back to us. Next we have up on November 6th is the Abington Celebrates for Veterans. This is an amazing event. I think we're in our 4th year of doing this at the Council of Aging in Abington. We have vendors, we have food, we have coffee, we have entertainment, and did I say food? Because we have some great food coming this year. You don't want to miss out on it. It's there for you. It's November 6th from 10 a.m. to, it says noon, but it's more like 1-ish, okay? I get to talking and I can't stop. So come on down, check it out. We'll all be there. And if you're a veteran, it's a great way to connect with other service providers who care about what you are, who you are, and how you need help. Last but not least, we had the 71st, which is older than me, longer than I've been alive, the 71st Abington Tri-Town Veterans Day Parade. This is a one-of-a-kind parade. You got to come and see all the towns come together. It stretches for miles. There's stuff for the kids to do. They're off from school. Get them out in the sunshine. Get them out in the crisp fall air. It's before Thanksgiving, and remind those veterans in the parade that people still appreciate them. I know I do. So that's passing the word. Good stuff going on. Chapter 115 benefits, there for us. Check it out. Postcard, don't throw it away. Take the 60 seconds tops. Fill it out, put it back in the mail, you're done. Abington celebrates November 6th, and the town parade, the 71st Tri-Town Parade, is on November 11th. Hey, you can't go wrong there. So we're going to close this section out and go into our guest. It's all special, it's all good. Thank you very much. We're back, and this is going to be awesome. We're going to do stuff I've never done before, because we have 2 guests on the Abington Veterans Muster, but for me, unique guests. First of all, I've never talked to a warrant officer in my years of doing my Oscar Mike radio show, and I've never talked to a chaplain. And I've never talked to a husband, wife, like military team, family, ever. So today for me, it's just a series of firsts, and I I'm just so excited I can't contain it. I'm like coming out of my skin right now. So, without any further ado, with no further delay, I want to introduce Kristy and Ken Coburn to the Abington Veterans Muster. Welcome. How are you all doing? This is awesome. Now I'm seeing here, and it's like you've seen Batman and Robin, Rocky and Bullwinkle, the Wonder Twins. We've got our own superhero veteran duo here in Abington. And before we get started, we did talk about this, Kristy. I would be really honored if we would, close our heads, because we're filming this around 9/11. It's a very somber time in our country. I feel it's appropriate. You're a reverend, you were a chaplain in the Navy, and would you do me the honor of praying over our time together, please, ma'am?
I'd be happy to.
I will bow my head.
Let's join together in prayer. Holy God, we pray for your blessing upon our conversation today. Inspire us with your wisdom, that we might bring compassion, care, and love to our community today and always. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I remember first moving to Abington, and it really came to the fore around 9/11. And before that, it was with Richard Fitz's documentary, 21 Years of Folded Flag. And there's two people in Navy uniforms, married, talking about, their experience supporting the Fitz family and veterans in Abington. And it was you both, or both of you, excuse me. And I'm like, I've never seen that before. And like, I've met married, military people, but not out in the community. And I hear you have a very great story. Maybe we'll do that in part 2. But what's it been like serving together and then coming out of the military and coming into Abington?
Well, I was basically born and raised in Abington.
Yeah.
And Kristy came in early in your years, junior high school age. I went right out of high school into the military. Kristy's path was a little bit different. You came in shortly after we met. You joined and went through boot camp, and that was in the late
1990s.
Yeah, just like me.
Yeah. I went in through seminary. Actually, I was still in the process of studying to be a pastor, and was intrigued at the thought of serving in the military as a chaplain. And it was around that same time that we met. It was actually coincidence that, we were both on similar journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, people think chaplain, they think this real uptight personage or whatever. I always looked at it as, I remember a chaplain out in the field, and he was kind of salty one time, and he's like, you all fight the battle of the physical, but our weapons, the weapons of our warfare, are not carnal, but mighty through God, and I fight for your soul. And that just here I am, a little E2. I'm like, yes, sir. But it really later, I'm like, wow. I mean, sometimes you think of the chaplain as just up there giving the blessing before the hump or whatever. But I've had other Marines tell me, there were, family times, other times that were really hard. And the chaplain was the one who's telling the first sergeant, hey, this Marine needs some help. What's it like shepherding that kind of flock?
You just have to meet people where they're at. That's always how I've approached any type of ministry, and particularly military chaplaincy or chaplaincy to veterans, because you never know where people are going to be at.
Yeah.
So, you have to just walk them through the experiences of their lives at whatever point, where they are. And you can't do that out of a textbook. You have to really talk to people, really get to know people, really understand what's going on in their lives to be able to support and love and encourage them.
Well, certainly, Chaplain Corps in the Navy has had a positive effect on the sailors you all serve and the Marines that you serve. I mean, again, we had a chaplain. I mean, it's 121 degrees in Yuma, Arizona, and he's out there humping with us. And then, you fall out, or you're getting heat stroke, and he's there making sure that you're comforted the whole time. Ken, I never got the idea of what you actually did in the Navy, besides being a warrant officer, which gave me chills and flashbacks to mine. But what does a warrant officer in the Navy do?
Well, you back up a little bit. More importantly, those early years. The 1985 when I joined up until about 1993. It was when I had my initial enlisted stint.
Okay.
And
A Mustang.
I'm a Mustang.
Okay.
Yeah. So I made it all the way to Chief Petty Officer. I was a Chief Yeoman, and decided that it was time to change careers a little bit. And the warrant officer ranks seemed very intriguing. For folks that aren't familiar with the warrant officer ranks, we are a unique breed. You're in between that enlisted and officer status, but you're a commissioned officer. But you've been down on the deck plates. You know how the ship runs. You know how the chain of command works and what doesn't work. And what I found very important, being the chief warrant officer, is I always had the ear of the skipper. Was always go to the warrant to ask what the current climate is, looking for advice and looking for direction. So 32 years of that, 15 years of it was on the enlisted side of the house, and the remaining 15 years it was on the warrant officer side. I did get called back to active duty after 9/11, shortly after 9/11, and I was the deputy to the DNI, the Director of Naval Intelligence, down in the Pentagon. So pretty surreal, and that was just after about 3 years, roughly about 2 or 3 years after I experienced the death of my first wife.
Oh, wow.
Had a 3-year-old at the time 9/11 happened, and got recalled to active duty without really a lot of support, other than close family, but had lost my spouse in the process there.
God rest your soul. You all finished your naval careers, long, and very unique, and come back to Abington. What was it like getting out of the military and then, setting up that family foundation and serving the way you all have in Abington? Because we're a very proud military town.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it was a little chaotic at first, to be honest. We weren't sure where we were going to settle. Abington was not necessarily our first choice, although looking back, it probably should have been, because this is where we belong. But we had looked at houses all around the area, and finally, found what we were looking for here in Abington, and I'm grateful we did, because this is an incredible town.
Yeah. Right. And to back up a little on that, it was 2 years after 9/11, I was still on active duty, and that's when we got married. We got married as I was coming back off of active duty. So I was being discharged, coming back in.
Kristy.
Yeah.
If you just said, I was a little chaotic a couple minutes ago, as if it were just no big deal.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of chaos.
All right, maybe I was being polite. It was. I mean, I was living with my parents. I was helping to take care of Ken's daughter, with the daughter he had with his late wife. We were looking for houses. We had some money set aside and saved. He was still traveling back and forth to the Pentagon and to the Office for Naval Intelligence, finishing up down there. I mean, maybe it was more than a little chaotic.
But you all got through it. Now, is it really true love that did it, or was it just, hey, we have to function as a unit, we have to come together and just meet each challenge individually?
Well, it was, of course, both.
Okay.
Right? I mean, we couldn't do what we do if we didn't love each other, but we also probably couldn't do what we do if we didn't function as a unit.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that came to my attention is, hey, if you're involved in any military thing here in Abington, I always see you two there, which is like what stuck in my mind is, this is the dynamic duo. KC squared, as I like to call you both. How did that get started? Because usually when someone gets out, myself included, you get the kids, you got this going, and it's hard to stay engaged, right? It's difficult. But you all kind of do it together. So, I mean, and then there's always the jokes about, you're married to her, do you really want to hang out with her? And you all do. How's that work?
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. No, most of the time it does. And I want to point and say he started it, actually.
Oh, really?
He got involved with the American Legion first.
Okay.
Our kids were quite young, and so a lot of times if there were meetings or events, I would stay home with the kids and he would go to the meeting. And then, different shifts in leadership happened, and they were looking for a chaplain. I obviously naturally fit that bill. I think you were the chaplain for a short time.
I was.
You?
I don't know. I don't think I ever took that role. They wouldn't let me do that.
So then I started to become more active in the Legion, and it just built from there. You know, the more time we spent there, the more we got involved and invested in the veterans who we were serving, and just came to love it.
So pick a number, one of you two. People get confused between the DAV, the AMVETS, the Legion, and the VFW. Kind of tell the people watching what the American Legion is and how it's different.
It was the first veterans organization that was authorized after World War I, 1919, mandated by Congress that there be an organization that took care of veterans returning home from war. I think after that, we've had other organizations come about. The Veterans of Foreign War, very restricted on their membership. Back up a little bit, the American Legion was restrictive on its membership up until recently. The American Legion now will take any veteran, whereas the Veterans of Foreign War, you have to have a specific military decoration in order to be a member of the VFW. So I'm a member of the VFW, a member of the Legion. Members of the DAV, again, you've got the Disabled American Veterans. Those are folks that are disabled, and they've got an organization that takes care. You've also got the specific era veterans for Gulf War, post 9/11, Vietnam has theirs. So I've always struggled with that there are so many veterans organizations out there. We're all veterans, whether we're injured or we served in a combat arena. I've always struggled with the fact of why aren't we just one organization of veterans?
Well, I mean, sir, respectfully, I mean, because, you know, I've had my, you know, trials, tribulations with that very same question. I'm like, well, you know, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you know, get out of here. But I'm like, well, I swore the same oath you did.
Absolutely.
What's the big deal? And it's challenging with everything going on right now, and we'll come back to that. I understand, and I got to look at some of the research that you're more than just working at the Legion. You're a minister in the community, you serve the community, and you do other things, Ken. But one of the projects I got wind of through the Abington Veterans Advisory Council is this historical compilation you put together of people who died in service to our country who are from Abington. How did all that come together? Because I looked at it, Kristy, and it wasn't just like, you know, a piece of paper. Like, you have binders of information that you've compiled over the years. Why did you do that, and how did it come together?
So I have to give credit to Mike Franey, first and foremost.
Mr. Franey, yeah?
Yes, he is the one who threw the ball into my court with this. So back in 2016, the town was working on Gold Star street signs. So there's a lot of streets in Abington named after Abington's Killed in Action, and he wanted to put up street signs, you know, with information, a little bit of information about each of the killed in action. And so he kind of, as I said, threw the ball in my court, asked me to do a little research to find the information that was needed for the street signs, which I did in sort of quick fashion, just for the purpose of the street sign dedication. In the process of doing that, though, I came to realize what we all really know, that each of those people is a real human being,
right,
with a real history and a real family and a real community of friends who love and miss them. And so it prompted me to want to do more research on each one of them, to really put more of the information and the facts, and not just the military history and the decorations and the, you know, the way the person died, but the way the person lived, who the person really was. And so that's how the project started, and I've just kind of slowly over the course of the years since 2016 worked to compile more and more information. And I know the binders were a big deal to finally get those done, but they're never really done. I'm always going to continue to try to research more and understand more about these folks so that I can put fuller pictures together about their lives.
I think one of the things that really brings home what you all do here in Abington is the Memorial Day ceremony we have. And I really, you know, Adam loves the parades, he does, and, you know, parades are great, but there's something about that ceremony that you all put together with the American Legion, other orgs, that just seems like a really hallowed, sacred time. And the part that gives me the most chills is when you read the names, and you two are up there going through that together. when you're reading those names, because you've done the research and you've seen her put this together, does that mean more to you now than maybe it used to?
It certainly means a lot more to me, and I feel like every time I read one of those names, I can see those people in my mind and in my heart, you know, and I'm grateful for each and every one of them. And that's not something that we always did on Memorial Day.
Really?
For a long
Right.
time, the town didn't read those names. That was something that sort of evolved during the pandemic, as a matter of fact,
Right.
when we had to make some changes to all of the ceremonies we held on Memorial Day. And it was so well received by the people of the town that we decided to continue doing it. And it's a very sacred moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And those names have become part of our daily discussions.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. We do a lot of walking around town. We were at the gym, and it becomes just a topic of discussion, just as their family members, as if
Yeah.
they're family members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going through the binders and I'm like, okay, it's not just a name anymore. It's, to your point, this person had a place and they went somewhere and either, you know, and didn't come back home. And there's
Right.
always going to be a gap there. And it's always interesting to see how that formulates. Or is there a plan to put that in an archive somewhere or make it available to people to see if they want to, or are you still working on it?
Your book.
Yeah, well, at one point I had thought about publishing a book about these people, but then I realized that the information, I just continue to compile information all the time, so it would be a book that would never really be finished. So in addition to the binders that you've already seen, Adam is working on helping me get all this information put onto the town's website. Because the whole point of the research in the first place was to invite the people of the town to also get to know these folks and understand the important role that they played in not only local history, but American history.
Well, I think it's the thing, you know, some of the 9/11, ceremonies, like we went to the one for the town of Abington. We were both there, or all three of us were there. And other ones is there's really a hunger for people to stay connected to their history and understand what happened.
Yes.
And I just found it very interesting and unique. Going back to the American Legion, because, you know, what you all have done, you know, you with this project and serving the community as a minister, and what you do for the American Legion is community service. But I'm right in saying, right, Ken, that there are some challenges with these kinds of organizations. And I think I'd like you to kind of expand on what you said earlier, because I think you're on to something. There's so many fragmented organizations now that we're not united. It seems counterproductive. And am I right in thinking that? Because that's kind of how I feel, is that there's just hundreds of them. And if you're a member of one, well, you can't be a member of the other, and you can't help each other out. And God forbid you actually talk to one another, right?
Right.
Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, this town has come a long way. I
Okay.
mean, you fully understand, and we're all in agreement that the Vietnam veterans were not treated very nicely when they returned from war.
Sure.
And they formed their own organization, their own veterans organization, and we have one in town named after one of our killed in action, Richard Fitz. We get along very well as of current date. That's not always the way it was. There was always division between the American Legion, the VFW, and the Richard Fitz chapter. I think as time has gone on, we've broken down a lot of those walls. We've created a collaboration, if you will, with the other two organizations the American Legion has with the VFW and Post 2. And we sort of operate in a sense of a collaborative coalition of veterans. Even though we have our separate titles, we're running parades together, we're running ceremonies together. It's not this post is going to take care of that and everybody else stands aside. We're coming together as a collective to get things done. But we're all facing the same challenges, which is membership.
Okay.
So,
speaking of membership, you do have membership available to the American Legion, and you have events going on. This is the thing I hear from other towns is they never do anything, or they don't have things for different demographics, but you all do. Like there is a whole like calendar stuff for the summer.
yep. We've got our whole list of, it's year round.
Year round.
Year round. We've got Foxwoods trip coming up November 11th. I still have seats open. It's $30 for
It's
folks.
actually October 11th.
October.
November
what did I say?
11th is
Yeah,
Veterans
so
Day.
Veterans Day, sorry.
I was like, okay, I can be in two places.
No, Friday,
Yeah.
October 11th
Okay.
is our bus trip down to Foxwoods. $30. We get on at 6:45 in the morning. We're back at 6 o'clock at night. We have dinner available for folks when they return. It's a day for folks to go out and hang out and enjoy a day together. We've got our chicken bakes and winter bake. We have our summer bake. We've got our socials during the off months when we're not meeting in the summertime, holding our regular scheduled meetings. So there's always something going on at the post.
To your point earlier, too, we do things to honor our country and the history too. Like, for instance, we have a Pearl Harbor ceremony every year, first Sunday in December.
That's right.
You don't see those very often anymore. No. You know, but we make sure that we take time out, all three of our veterans organizations, to remember and honor those who died at Pearl Harbor.
Yep, and that's a free breakfast that comes along with that.
Yes.
And we've been doing that for years. It's again to keep that memory alive. The numbers are dwindling every year attending that ceremony, and we're doing our best. I know that we had an article written a while back in the Globe. I think Kristy Coombs wrote an article specifically about the Legion and its membership and the struggles that not only we are having, but across the nation are having with these veterans organizations, getting people to come in the door.
Well, one thing that I liked going to the summer social was the fact that, oh my God, there were kids there. And the kids were respectful, and you know, the parents had them talking to, you know, veterans they knew and telling them the stories. And I'm like, this is fantastic. And I like the fact that a couple of years ago, Caitlin Happel, Abington high school student, had her breakfast fundraiser, and all her high school students came together to raise money for her. It wasn't raise money; it was her National Honor Society project.
Yep.
But still, it was like she was able to do that because the Legion was there. And I really think that when Legions go dormant, for lack of a better term, it's a real strain on the community. And so I just really admire the work you all have done over the years, not a couple months, not a couple days, the years you all have done. And I kind of want to wind it down with this, like, you guys could be doing anything else in life, but you still have this, it has to be a passion to do this. Where is that coming from, and why do you all still do it?
Well, I mean, I can speak for myself, but maybe other veterans will resonate with this too. Once you serve your country in uniform, it's hard to let that go. You never want to walk away from it. You know, there's certainly a pride in wearing that uniform and service to this country. And so for us, it just felt very natural after we hung the uniforms up, so to speak, or really we traded them in for Legion uniforms, you know, and to be able to continue to serve veterans and our local community at the same time is a gift.
As I say, caring for our community. That's it really comes down to. We want to make sure that folks in our organization are aware of the programs that Adam has available to them, things that are happening, resources that are available to them that they're unaware of. We want to make sure that that education gets out there, that they're aware of it. You know, we've got 4 pillars of the Legion. Yeah. And one of the main one is the children and youth, and you touched on that one, that we're very supportive of all the youth organizations. High school football is going to be used in the hall to hold their spaghetti dinners. So I've got 2 calls just recently on that. So we open it up free of charge for them to come in and use the space, and we're more than happy to be there. And we get conversations going between the parents and some of the adults that are at the post. So it's a great opportunity to be out there and help out.
So I'm a veteran in Abington. How do I connect with the American Legion and you all if I want to join? And hey, if you are in Abington and if you are a veteran, I joined. It took me a while. That's a long story, but I did join, and you know, I feel it's important to live that truth, right? To be there for the people who support us. They're right here, the dynamic duo.
Yep. Stop by anytime. We're open 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
Open 7 days a week. So.
There's an activity list posted on a bulletin board right inside of the Legion.
Membership cards, paperwork's available for folks to fill out. It's $40 for a year's membership.
And everyone who is at the Legion at any given time knows who we are. So they can always point you in the direction or give you phone numbers to reach us if people are interested in learning more.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a blast talking with you both. And to me, we just scratched the surface. Like, we didn't really dig the way I like to dig down. But it was just amazing to understand that, you know, life can be a a little chaotic.
A little.
I'm gonna remember that one, a little chaotic. But still, you know, love, passion, togetherness, teamwork made this work to what it is today, and that you're still here all this time serving the veterans in our community. I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing with me, and hopefully when it goes up on the website, we can come back and talk about that more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
absolutely.
great.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, you know, thank you so much. And, you know, I'm going to tell you something. I really like the fact that we opened in prayer. That means a lot to me. And thank you again.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having us. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
There you go. There we are. If you're a veteran in Abington, you have no excuse. Come down to the American Legion and meet a real-life dynamic duo in Ken and Kristy Coburn. I've enjoyed talking with them. You'll enjoy them too. Come down, check it out. Let's support the American Legion. Let's keep this stuff going. You have no excuse. There is no excuse, okay? So, again, thank you for watching. Spread the word. Sharing is caring. And as we say at the Abington Veterans Muster, you are now dismissed.